Hello, listeners. This is Jack, and this is an episode of the JOJ podcast, The Incredible Journey of Jack. If you want to follow along on Instagram, that's at The Incredible JOJ. We are posting episodes every Thursday. I've got a couple good ones coming up. If you want to be on the podcast, feel free to reach out to my Instagram at JTRob20 or at The Incredible JOJ. And we can get something going, because really I just love having a conversation with people. So yeah, this episode was great. Recorded in Roanoke, Texas with Alan Beam of Beam Team Design, a graphic design, branding and logo company that's worked with sports teams such as DBU, Baylor, Mississippi State University, just to name a few. So I learned a lot about creativity, how to monetize content. I think this will be a great lesson. So thank you for tuning in and enjoy.
And I do have a allergies. I got a cough drop. Is that gonna be a problem?
That's going to ruin the whole thing.
No, it's not.
Just kidding. No, but yeah, man. So this is your first podcast?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
It's a good maiden voyage.
I've had a lot of people on that it's their first one, and
Nice.
even for me, it's like there's just like nerves starting off.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the episode, but those will go away anyways. But
Cool.
All right. So this is the Journey of Jack podcast. This is episode 6, and we have a special guest on this fine day. This man is a business owner, an entrepreneur, an artist. His name is Alan Beam.
Mm-hmm.
Beaker, which I need to figure out what that nickname means.
We can start there.
We could start there, and I just want to give a little intro.
Okay.
So, founder and president of Beam Team Design, a company that specializes in branding, logos, and graphics with the goal of helping you stand out in your target market. Over 30 years in experience working with small ventures to worldwide companies and sports teams, including Dallas Baptist,
Yes.
Baylor, Mississippi State,
Mm-hmm.
Armed Forces Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going through your website. I was like, dang, there's a lot of stuff there.
For sure.
So, yeah, I'm just happy to have you on, and I'm really looking forward to talking about your creative process, kind of starting a business, being an entrepreneur, and all that. So,
Excellent. I'm glad to be here.
yeah.
I'm pumped.
I wanted to ask you, is there all the roundabouts? Is that the same in Argyle? Is that when you know you're in a fancy area? There's roundabouts
Oh,
everywhere?
we don't have those in Argyle.
Really?
It's just a straight shot.
Okay.
No roundabouts, but they have them out here in Roanoke, though. So
Yeah. I don't know. Do you like those? I don't know.
It depends. I like them bigger. I think Keller has
yeah.
some real big ones, and it makes it easier to navigate. I'm worried about the other people not knowing how to navigate it, but
Yeah, I know.
we don't have any in Argyle. We'll keep it simple.
Yeah, that's good. I like Argyle. I've been up there like once or twice for real estate, and it's spaced out a little bit. It's not
Mhm.
as condensed.
For now,
Oh, yeah.
it's
for now.
growing. It's growing big.
I mean, I'm in Benbrook, and it's just flowing out from
Mhm.
there, too.
Yeah, the whole area.
It is what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But when were you born?
October 6, 1970 in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Wow.
Me and Elvis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
always my party icebreaker, because everybody knows Elvis, so
Yeah.
it's just a good conversation starter for me.
1970.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, the world has changed so much since then.
Yeah, it has. Indeed. I was thinking while I was coming up here, I think I was in my mid to late 20s before I ever used a computer to do artwork.
Dang.
Yeah. I think I was 30 when I owned my first one.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
So like, yeah, when I was getting, I mean, I'm still a kid, really, but
To
we're
me, you
all
are.
kids in heart.
Yeah,
you know?
sure. Sure.
But I had my first cell phone when I was 12.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think I was in like 5th or 6th grade, and it's just like a little small screen, but
Mhm.
There's like little games on there you could play, and
Yeah, rudimentary games.
and then after that it was the iPod Touch, and I remember just
Uh-huh.
mind blown
Uh-huh.
from that. And
With a million songs to choose from.
yes, well,
Just
iPod came before that, and then the iPod Touch. I remember having the iPod first. I was just like mind blown. But even the iPod Touch and touchscreen technology
mm-hmm,
from Steve Jobs is like
mm-hmm. Game changer.
there's a lot of game changers in this space, like
Mm-hmm.
internet.
Yeah.
Wasn't that? I think that was created by DARPA, like the government. I think they created the internet, or
Well, that's way above my pay grade. You seem to be good at researching, so you
I've got
probably
some
get
stuff
pretty-
written down. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I was gonna get into Steve Jobs and touchscreen and all that, but we can talk about that later.
Okay.
Apparently, it's like a psychedelic thing that happened to him.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, but Tupelo, Mississippi, 1970. What was that kind of like for you? And I mean, compared to now, what has changed for you? And
Well, I was a preacher's kid growing up, so I was born in Tupelo, and then we moved every 3 years or so. So I bounced around North Mississippi for a while, and I think it was just there just wasn't a whole lot. I mean, we were playing more than kick the can, but there wasn't a whole lot. There weren't video games or anything like that, so we would just go outside and ride our bikes and play, and there were sports and baseball and just hanging out, and that might have something to do with my creativity because you had to kind of make your fun. It wasn't quite as easy as kids have it now, but
interesting.
but it was moving around every few years, so I learned how to meet people and how to fit in and just how to be a people person. God may have made me that way before that, but that definitely enhanced it.
Yeah, there's so much boredom now that people have,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Isn't that
just
weird?
crazy to think.
Yeah.
So there's so much going on. How can you be bored? But I want to just kind of contrast when I was growing up. We would ride bikes and everything, and then video games came into the picture, and it just corrupts you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you. So you said baseball. Were you into sports growing up, or did you?
Yes, but I wasn't great at them. But I did okay. I played Little League for a couple of years, and that was about it as far as organizational sports. And then I eventually in high school, I got into church league softball and basketball and stuff like that. But I was always I was kind of a late bloomer. I grew 6 inches when I was in school at Mississippi State. So,
No way.
Yeah. So I was always the youngest in my class. It's kind of one of those things where I sometimes wish my parents had held me back, but I turned out okay in spite of it. So,
Absolutely.
but I definitely had some fun with sports, and I just think I always kind of gravitated towards that because I think it's fun and you have the design element to it, whether it's helmets or uniforms or whatever. So I just think it was a natural progression for me to go to games with my dad and my mom and just kind of follow it and notice the uniforms on the trading cards and everything else I had.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite uniform, like of all time, or anything?
In all sports or any sport?
Any sport.
Oh man.
Or like anyone that sticks out. I know for me, I really like TCU's uniforms.
Yeah.
The Horned Frogs.
Yeah.
The purple and black. I think it's just
That's
a slick
pretty sweet.
look.
Yeah.
And
boy, that's a hard question. You're starting off with the hard balls. I would say, man, I don't know.
you said trading cards.
Yeah.
I was big into trading cards. We got a bunch of them from a neighbor growing up, and just like looking through them. But I wasn't more into like the design of them. It was more I was like trying to sell them. I was like looking up Chipper Jones rookie card, all these ones, just trying to find which one will sell more. But it ended up being a huge process. It was like way too many cards. And
yeah.
if you ever heard about what that is, it's like you got to get them mint certified, and any little thing in the card, it's over.
Yeah.
You get like a 6 card when you should have had a 10, and
yeah. You drop it on the floor one day and you're done.
You're done.
I think the favorite uniform, which is a great question. As I get older, I think I go a little more traditional. But you mentioned the Braves. I grew up on the Braves because TBS was the only superstation we had that was before cable, and TBS was the first one to really plow through that medium. So I would say
Interesting.
that. I mean, I like the Braves. I like the old Braves, and I like the new Braves. Kind of classic. It has some
Yeah.
style to it, but it's not overly done. I like what the University of Oregon does, and I'm interested to see what Coach Prime does in Colorado. I like that aspect of somebody being fancy and just
Yeah.
blowing it out. TCU kind of does that too sometimes. But I kind of like the good and the bad of I like the Alabamas playing the
Yes.
Oregons. Like I like
Yeah.
that mixture. It's good. So everybody's not just going crazy and
Mm-hmm.
they're not all playing either. So I like the mixture. I've
I
always
agree.
liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of go back and forth though with Oregon. Sometimes I'm like, I don't really like that lime green again, but they have really cool ones at the same time. So
Yeah, they've gone over the top, but it's just kind of cool from a designer standpoint. I think that's what like I'm not just a football fan. I'm a designer and I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh, that's cool. I would love to do that. I would love to design that stuff."
You said you kind of like more traditional, but you like both. But
Yeah.
my dad's the same way. Like he
Mhm.
likes the Patriots, red, white, and blue,
Mhm.
Dallas Baptist,
Mhm.
the Philadelphia 76ers,
Mhm.
just red, white, and blue. Can't go
Mhm.
wrong.
Yeah.
I kind of like that too, though.
I mean, your dad likes the Cubs.
Oh
That's a
yeah,
pretty classic
yeah,
look.
true.
Simple. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, growing up, did you have any role models in the artistic space you looked up to, or was it just something that you felt artistically just watching sports, and what kind of got you inspired to be a designer and an artist?
I didn't really have anybody that I looked up to per se because, like I said, it was before cable and internet. And so it was just the games themselves and trying to replicate what I saw on paper. And
Mm.
so I would, when I was really young, I would just draw an oval for the football player, cut him in half, and then have a jersey and a pant. Like that's so I would have a bunch of guys running around, and Mississippi State would be maroon tops and white bottoms. So
Yeah,
even then, I was really attuned to what the team was wearing, even though I wasn't good enough to get into the detail.
interesting. Did you do like coloring books or drawing or anything like that growing up?
Yeah, I think I did some coloring books. I don't recall that per se. I think I just dove into drawing on paper, and then I learned how to make black and white copies, like at my dad's work or my mom's work or something. And so I would draw one football player and then get Xerox copies, is what they used to call it, Xerox copies, and then bring them home and then pencil in the helmet and all the color and all that stuff. So it was the old copy and paste. Is what that was.
Well, I kind of wanted to share a story about how I'm not like super deep into, like you are being a designer and artist, but I like really creating on Photoshop. And that all started for me in high school. So I took a photography class and it really opened up my world to just art. I learned a lot. We had a really cool teacher, and one of our first assignments was a pinhole camera
Mm-hmm.
where you have like the negative and you make sure it's in a dark box and you have a little square.
Mm-hmm.
You put the tape over it, then you go. I was like, how can you do this? And you just open the tape, let the light in, and all the lighting. I learned so much in that class, but we had these really cool Mac computers that we would work on
Mm-hmm.
for Photoshop,
That's
and
sweet.
you just get like lost just in there creating stuff. And it was actually a lot of work, but at the same time, it was one of my favorite classes, and it really inspired me. And I love using Photoshop today and being creative.
Got those creative juices flowing. That's all you
Yes.
need is an outlet. Like you just need somebody to open the door. I think when I was in high school, I had a high school commercial art teacher named Lillian Brooks, and she was really cool, and she
Hmm.
recognized my talent, and she kind of pushed me at times. But most kids, I don't know what they would do when there was a substitute or they didn't have anything to do. But I would go to Miss Brooks' classroom and just draw and do
Hmm.
different things and just kind of learn from her and glean from her with her experience. So I can relate to the
Yeah.
just get into a space where you can be creative and then you're like, wow, this is awesome. Let's do this.
Yeah, I know. It's like art was just such a contrast from, rigorous math or science. You go to art class, it's relaxing. Usually it's always cold in those rooms for some reason. I don't know why. Um,
Maybe I think
the
the desk
clay. The
Maybe
desk too.
the desks were bigger, so there were less kids in there. Probably. I don't
Yeah,
know. That's a guess.
I don't know, but it was always just a nice, relaxing thing, and learning about colors, what colors go together,
Hmm.
and that led me into taking a art history class in. This was like before I went to Arkansas,
Hmm.
but it was like I needed I think it was an art credit or a humanities credit, and it was like a 2 hour class. We had this hippie teacher.
Hmm.
He's wearing flip flops. He had long
Nice.
hair, and
Yeah.
we learned about like a lot of old school art, like statues and all that. And one of the biggest things I learned in that class was we had this one assignment, and it was like the golden ratio.
Hmm.
Have you heard of that?
Doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember it now too, but it was like there's just all this crazy stuff in art that we could get into, and I'll have to come back to that because I'm trying to jog my memory on that. But anyways,
Do you still go to museums? Like from that history of art, it kind of got you going. So do you go to museums and
I haven't
check it out?
in a while. A couple years ago, I went to this one artist, Takashi Murakami.
Hmm.
He's a graphic artist. Have you heard of him?
Sounds familiar, but I can't
I'm gonna
pinpoint it.
pull him up real quick because he has this like weird style of it's like bright Japanese colors
Mhm.
and flowers and all this, and it's just it catches your eye. Let me show you.
So you went and saw him or his?
Mm-hmm. He did a thing at the Fort Worth, I think Modern History of Art Museum or something.
The Kimball?
I can't.
Kimball's older, I think. Oh yeah.
This is like his style of art. It was really
Okay.
crazy. This whole museum and
Oh yeah. Sensory overload if you went and saw that.
a little bit, yeah.
That's good though. I dig it. Unique
It was very unique
for
and
sure.
I don't know why I liked it so much, but he's also collaborated with a couple like hip hop artists. He collaborated with Drake for these hoodies, and I think art goes hand in hand with like
Oh, that's Drake's owl.
that's his owl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the flower face.
Is your October baby?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that Scorpio? Is that what that is?
Libra.
Libra. Okay.
Scales, balance.
Yeah, interesting. I was gonna. I wasn't sure if I should ask you that because some people get all weird about astrology stuff. But
I'm not worried about it.
yeah. Yeah. So then, being at Mississippi State, that's how you met my parents,
Mm-hmm.
and they told me that you were an athletic trainer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can you tell me about that? I didn't know that.
Yeah, my senior year in high school, I was in Nashville, Tennessee, and I went to the University of Memphis. It was a camp. It was like a 2-day camp with their training staff, and so I liked sports, and I was a trainer, more of a water boy for my high school team, and a statistician or whatever. And so I was just trying to continue to stay close to the action. So I went to this camp and loved it. It was great. I mean, it was pretty intense. I mean, it gets into the medical field in terms of how to take care of people and treatment and stuff like that. But I knew that it was a way for me to get into a college football atmosphere and to be close to it and to be a part of it. And so I contacted Mississippi State, or my dad did, I think, and I talked to Paul Mock, who I don't know if Paul is still there, but he was the assistant to Stratton Karatasis, and I talked to Paul, and they were ready to take me on board, and it just allowed me. We went 2 weeks early for football before school started in the fall of 1988, and it was just great. It was just its own fraternity, kind of. And I loved it. It was just cool to just be a part of Division I football. I mean, I'd always liked it and just want to be a part of it. So it was cool.
Yeah, that's so cool. Were you doing actually? So you said kind of in high school, water boyish, but were you doing? What kind of things were you doing
for the team?
For the team,
I can't remember if I was taping ankles or not, but I'm sure there was some form of that. just probably any and everything. I mean, I probably
Yeah.
did some equipment manager stuff. I think I taped ankles. I'm pretty sure I taped wrists in high school, and then so it was just a natural transition into college.
Nice. I know a couple of people that have gone that route in the kinesiology degree, and
Yes.
but me in high school, I was a trainer for the girls soccer team
Mm-hmm.
my senior year.
I didn't know that.
And
That's cool.
it was fun, you know, just being around that and setting everything up. But just being with the team, you know, feeling that team aspect, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And I think I met your dad first. He lived on the same dorm floor as me, and then I eventually met your mom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember when that was, but I think your dad was down the hall from me in the athletic dorm when they used to have athletic dorms. I don't know if they have those anymore.
Do you remember what he was like?
He's just like he is now.
Yeah.
He was just fun to be around. You could just tell he was a good dude, and he liked to have fun, and real sharp, real witty, like he is now. Maybe not quite as sharp or witty, but he's got some chops. So
yeah,
he was just fun to hang out with.
That's so funny to hear. I mean, I guess that's what happens when you grow up with 6 brothers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
And he was the youngest.
Yeah.
So he got schooled pretty quick on how things went down. So he kind of, now that you say that, he kind of, maybe college was his way to reverse the whip. And so he was the youngest. And so now he was older. He was a year ahead of me in school or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so he would whip those younger guys into shape.
Yeah.
Especially on the baseball team. But he would mix it up with the other guys too. Like he didn't. I'm not saying he was looking for a fight, but like a verbal war, he was all in. So it was always fun to watch.
I've had some verbal wars with him before too.
Yeah. Yep.
So doing that, being around the football team, did you know that, well, I guess I just wanted to know, like, did you know you were going to be a business owner, an entrepreneur, an artist at that time? Did you have any foresight to see that, or?
Yes, I've always known that I wanted to do that, to be my own boss or just to design. I don't think I necessarily knew that I would be a business owner, but I knew I would do design work as a profession. I've been drawing since I was about 5, so
Dang.
I've always kind of had that trajectory. And so the training was just a way to kind of enjoy while I was in college and just get that fix.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually led to some inroads of business and some work when I was done in college. But I always knew I would eventually do my own thing. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know what it looked like or how long it would take.
So what did you study at Mississippi State?
Art and communication.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I took figure drawing, and then I had Hank Flick for I didn't have him. Maybe I had him for speech. But he was the old PA announcer for the basketball and football team.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dang.
Well known. He's rest in peace. He's no longer with us, but he was quite a character. But yeah, I thought that art and communications would be a good way to go to take classes for both because they would serve me well.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, you sound great on the mic too.
Oh, thanks.
So.
I appreciate that. I like to talk. I told you every 3 years or so I would move around, and so I had to talk.
Yeah. That's a good skill to have.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things about doing the podcast. It challenges me to become a better communicator.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things that I've tried to get better at ever since probably college. I was like, I need to get better at this. After public speaking class, I was like, dang, why am I so nervous right now? You know?
Yeah.
It's just like that.
I get that.
That fear, but
I think you're doing great. Now, this is my first podcast, but I think you're doing well.
Thank you.
The research is there, and back and forth. It's good.
Speaking
I've
of
listened
that,
to enough podcasts that this is pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we're getting better each episode, and just trying to take advice where I can, and just be humble. So,
there you go.
I want to get into artificial intelligence art.
Okay.
But before that, I want to talk to you about starting your business.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask, what inspired you to start your own graphic design business, branding and logo business?
It wasn't like a mark in time. It just gradually happened because I would work for other people. And then at night and on weekends, I would freelance. And so it just gradually just built up to being able to do my own thing. And then several years ago, I got a job opportunity to brand a whole bunch of schools in Texas. And so I was able to, so that was just like the jumping off point. So that could pay the bills for 6 months. And so I was just waiting for
Dang.
that. So I jumped in and been rolling ever since.
That's awesome. I bet that was a huge relief. That'd be a big break.
Yeah,
kind of.
but with that comes pressure. So it was a relief, like finally, and then you take a breath and then you think of how is this going to work and how long will it work or how long will it sustain? So
you got to keep going too.
Yeah.
There's no stop.
Yeah.
What was that process like? Doing that for the schools? Was it kind of the outside title of the building and?
It was more just branding. It was a marketing firm. It was interestingly enough, it was an all-female marketing firm out of Fort Worth.
Wow.
And I had a mutual friend, and so they would contact the schools and they would do all the communication, and then they would just come to me with what they wanted. And then I was kind of out of the loop. But again, it freed me up to be able to do other things in and around those projects. But it would be a school they wanted a new mascot, they had a new principal, they had maybe they conglomerated, if that's the word. They combined two schools, or they wanted to change the name because it was a combined school. And so they just want to either do something new or refresh what they had, or they were joining forces and wanted to come up with something that combined the two schools' history.
Interesting. You had mentioned that you were kind of out of the loop, and I wanted to ask you about what is your experience working with clients, and what is a good kind of client relationship, and what is an example of an uncooperative client in that whole process?
That's a loaded question.
Maybe before we should, I wanted to ask you about your whole process. Like if I was a potential client and I wanted to create a brand, like how would that work, and what would we start on, kind of?
From scratch?
From scratch.
I would want to talk to you just to get a personal connection, and then have you tell me what the company's name was, if you had one, which I can help with name generation as well, but what the company stands for, what you want to sell, how you want it to look, how you want it to feel. If it's an apparel company or something similar to that, I would want to know, is there somebody out in the industry that you like, their look and their vibe and how they're doing things, and colors that you like, and maybe colors that if it's a competitor, you want to do something different than them. So it's just more of data collection, to see where you were and how I could help you go from there.
That makes sense. An initial meeting just to gauge the
I like it face to face, but phone calls are fine, or I might send like a questionnaire over email to run through those and give you time to think about it and then respond.
That's interesting. So then if someone had all that info and they had kind of the basis of what they wanted to do, they had a business started, they like these certain colors, what would the next step be moving forward and wanting to create like a logo or something like that?
It would be just what they want the look to be. Do they want it traditional, modern, out there, super simple? Do they want an icon? Nowadays, a lot of people want something that'll go well on social media. Yeah. So like a small logo that you can see. I usually default, and I shouldn't do this, but everybody wants a Nike swoosh. So, or an Under Armour logo, or a Dallas Cowboys star. Like everybody wants that.
Yeah.
But when you start out, you can't start out with that because nobody's going to know what it is. So you have to put that along with the company name and maybe a slogan or tagline, and then let it grow from there, and hopefully you can pull it away from that.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow, that's fascinating. Because then, you see those logos, like you said, Nike, the Cowboy Star, and you know what they are. You don't even have to read anything below. I guess that's like the goal of a logo.
I think so.
Yeah. Wow, that's fascinating.
I think so. It's just minimal, simplistic. Just you see it. kind of like you see a cross, and
Yeah,
even if you're not a Christian, people know what that is.
that's so true.
Yeah. So that probably should be the ultimate iconic mark, would be a cross
Yeah,
instead of Nike.
worldwide,
I may
everyone
start
knows it.
changing that when I say that.
Yeah. So then you get someone to create a logo, and they have their brand name. Do you do website design or kind of
I
anything
don't.
around that?
I do website graphics.
Graphics,
So
okay.
if you know whether whatever server or host you have, not server but host, and you know what size graphic you need for the banner and for all the little parts, then I can do that easily. But I have not quite mastered the back end of that. So
Oh yeah,
I mean, some people want me to do that just to maintain the look and the appearance, but they also have all they need. And if a webmaster is worth his salt, he'll be able to take what I do and he'll be able to make it work on the site. So
put it in there.
Yeah, that's no problem. I can kick that to somebody else.
Interesting. So do you have like a favorite, well, besides the cross, like a favorite logo that you've been around or seen, or anything that stuck out to you?
You got some good questions. I was not ready for that.
Sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize. I think it's awesome. Man, I'm not sure. I was thinking of sports logos, but an iconic mark. I like what Under Armour did. I think I have it on my sleeve. Like it has a U and an A, but it's not literal.
It's like a DNA kind of.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I didn't
DNA
think about
strands.
that. Yeah. But it's a U and an A, but it doesn't really spell U and A.
Yeah.
It's more of just a symbol. So they did, and I think they were trying to compete with Nike, so they were trying to do their own thing. And some companies like Reebok, they can't get it for whatever reason. There's just something missing. So
that is very interesting you brought them up, because they've never been on that same level with Nike, Adidas, Under Armour. I know they're a sponsor of the UFC, and they sponsor their shorts, and they're trying to do this Venom now. That's like what they call the shorts.
Right.
And it's like, I think it's like a Python thing, kind of like a Kobe Bryant, Mamba
Black
mentality
Mamba.
thing. Yeah. And it's so crazy how certain companies can get it and others don't, and what sticks and what doesn't.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
But I know that I think at that point you almost need to start over, because if it's not working, and I know on the tongue of the Reebok they used to have like a snowflake.
Yes, I actually. Okay, you're
with the little red triangle. All of them are white, and then one in the corner was red.
I have a pair of Reebok Classics. I wear them all the time.
Yeah.
And they have that. It's like an orange thing on the tag, and which I do like.
Yeah.
Can't lie.
Yeah.
I like that one, but
so I don't know, and I don't know if it's product or marketing or what it is, but they're just missing it for some reason. I mean, they're successful, but from a brand standpoint, I think they're just, I don't know. Maybe they're trying too hard to take over Nike.
Could be. I think they're a Russian company too.
I'm not sure.
I might have heard that, but anyways,
you're probably right. I'm gonna go with Russia.
Well, yeah, I'll say that's why they're not doing well. Okay, so then I wanted to ask you about, how do you go about the pricing for kind of the work that you do, if you're willing to talk about that.
I don't mind talking about it. It's really project specific. So if somebody just wants a logo, then I'll do a logo.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on who it is and what they're expecting from me. So if I did a logo for a Little League baseball team compared to the Texas Rangers wanted to rebrand, and they just wanted let's just say they just wanted a logo. I mean, it's two different ball games. No pun intended. So so I wouldn't want to pigeonhole myself on a price, but I think it's more on a project basis and what the company or the team needs. And I usually, again, take all that data and then give them a quote. And I kind of like to give them several packages. I don't always do that in case it's a bottom line thing for them. And so I might take a couple things off, services or products or whatever, to give them some flexibility. But I'm always open to changing the price and what it looks like and the guidelines for the project. I'm always open for that. I mean, for me, it's about getting what they want, and part of that's budgetary restraints or certain preferences that maybe don't meet that criteria.
So do you have any employees underneath you?
Just me.
Just you? Wow.
Just me.
Okay. I was going to ask you all about like hiring and all that, but
I've
awesome.
been a manager before, and I've learned a lot from managing other people. It's totally different than what you would expect, and there's always something.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, it's like juggling chainsaws.
Yeah.
It's pretty, but I mean, you can do it. It's not difficult, but it's challenging.
Interesting. So, say you get a job to do a logo and for the Rangers that you brought up.
Okay, I'm in.
And
can you make that happen?
Yes, I've got my contacts.
Awesome.
Say they want to change their branding. They want a new logo. They want some slogans. They need help with that. Do you have a special place that you go to mentally and physically? Maybe like a certain place you feel more comfortable at in your house, or do you have like a time of day that you feel more creative at? And how do you get into that creative flow? Are you already in it being an artist?
I think I'm already in it. I think, let's just say they contacted me and we talked, sat down or talked on the phone. It would be, the ideas would just start running. It's just natural. So they would just start running. And so I would want to get to the computer or to some pad or something and just jot them down while they were still fresh. I don't really have a room per se or a time of day. I think with a family of 4 that I'm a part of, I think when everybody goes to bed, that's probably my best time, because then I can listen to anything with my earbuds or whatever, music or podcasts or entertainment, something like that. So that would probably be my jam.
Okay, interesting. Do you have anything that inspires you? Like you said, music, or is there anything that inspires you? Because when I like have to like really focus on something, I cannot have music playing with lyrics.
Oh yeah.
Because they call it a lyricist. Like when I listen to music, I just like key in on like what's actually like growing up, people would play like rap music and I'm like, dude, are you actually listening to what they're saying in this? And so I always gravitated towards like the higher
that's good though.
Higher thinking
especially if you have a family at some point. It's going to be good to have that on your radar.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they'll slip in stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I have to have like maybe an instrumental track or like some Zen music going, or just completely silence.
Yeah, if I had to pick music, I would probably pick worship music. I got saved about 4.5 years ago, and so I've just been on fire for Jesus since then. And
Congrats.
So, thanks. When I listen to worship music, it just fills me up, because I know that I wouldn't be doing the design work I'm doing without the gifts God gave me. And I wouldn't have those clients without the gifts God gave me and the opportunity and the favor to be able to get that. And then it just puts me in a good space of appreciation, and then it can just flow from there.
I've been getting into spirituality and God recently, and
That's good.
I've been listening to Ty Tribbett. Do you know who that is?
It sounds familiar, but I don't.
He's like a gospel hip hop rapper.
Okay.
And he's got some really good stuff, and I agree. It just makes me feel something. I feel something good.
There you go. That's what it's there for. I know, obviously, DC Talk and Toby Mac, those guys I've heard of, and Lecrae.
Yes.
Is a pretty good Christian rapper. So I'll have to look that guy up when we're done. If you'll write it down or tell me or send it to me.
Yeah, I'll send you some songs.
I'll check it out.
It's got some good one.
Who knows? It might be. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, some good stuff.
Might be some good entertainment while I work. Perfect.
And so I was gonna ask you, since we're talking about your creative process, there's certain like artists who, it's kind of weird. Like I'll go on the music side. There are artists that are so good, and people put them on the pedestal, and they've had these stories, careers, but they're afflicted by something. And a lot of artists on the music side die so young, and it's drugs or suicide, stuff like that. And do you ever think about like how that pain helps you create, or maybe love helps you create? It sounds like you choose the
Yeah,
love
definitely.
side.
Definitely. And I think it has to do with upbringing.
Hmm.
The music side of it, I think it's performing. And I think art, straight up artwork, is not, it doesn't have that performance level that musicians have, where they have fans and crowds and concerts.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a little bit to that. I mean, I used to listen to heavy metal music. Excuse me.
My buddy, my coworker Sam, he loves like Slipknot and all that
Yeah,
stuff. And
I used to listen to Slipknot.
yeah.
Maybe even saw them in concert. But I think now that I'm on the other side, so to speak, I see that anytime I listen to that music, it just kind of curls me up and makes me kind of angry. So
Yeah.
I can see why it could do that and take some people into some dark places.
Yeah.
Lyrics or just the music.
I completely agree. There's just certain music that like when I hear it, I'm just like, nope.
Tapped out.
Because I figured something like it's just the power of the mind. The things that you're listening to, you're repeating it in your mind, and that can really create your own reality. And
Yeah,
if you put in
said.
good stuff, then and it took me a while to realize that, but
Yeah, you're a product of your environment.
mm-hmm.
So if that's music going in your ears, and it'll stick in your head, because I know that over the last 4 years, when you're walking around not doing anything, and then a song pops in your head. Well, if it's a worship song for me, or for you, if it's a Christian rap song,
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna probably be okay. It keeps you in a good space.
Yeah.
But if it's something bad, it's gonna take you down a road you don't want to go.
Yeah, it's dark.
Yeah. Agreed.
Staying on the dark page.
Okay.
There's this one artist. Oh man, his name's slipping me right now. I think he's a writer, or for example, Stephen King. He is like, he gets super like drunk, and then he writes these like amazing books.
Yeah.
And then there's oh man, I'm gonna remember his name, but he's like on all these drugs, and he's coming up with this stuff, and I just wanted to get your opinion on that, because you can't deny like some of Stephen King's stuff. I've read some of his books; they're just like so detailed, and it's like, how'd you come up with this? And maybe it's how you get into that headspace where you can like get those ideas. But I just want to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, to take it back to sports, it's kind of like getting ready for a game. Some guys will listen to pregame music and they get into this mode. But I do think it's a slippery slope and it's dangerous, because like Stephen King, he does incredible work for what that genre is. But I can't imagine what it does to his soul if he's listening to certain things or getting drunk or going down. That's a deep dive to get that result. So I don't know how worth it is.
It's a form of selling your soul, maybe.
Yeah, but I think he's talented before. Yeah, I think that's right. I think you are kind of selling it, but I think he would probably he could be better without that. But I think that's just a slippery slope.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
So the psychedelic, I think you mentioned that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I can appreciate people wanting to get into a different space to create different artwork. And that's great in the moment when you produce it, whether it's music, art, writing, but you got to come out of it. And if you don't come out of it, then
you can't make anything.
You're toast. If you can manage it, which is probably extremely difficult to do, more power to you. But drugs are just not a good thing.
Yeah.
Because of that slippery slope.
Yes. So I got some questions up here that I pulled up. Have you heard of Chat GPT?
No.
Okay. Wow. I'm gonna blow your mind here.
Okay, I'm ready.
So it's this artificial intelligence service that was created in like 2015 by Elon Musk and some other guys. Elon Musk has then since left that company, and now Microsoft has invested $11 billion into this service.
Billion.
Ooh. 11. And so they invested like $500,000 into Apple when they were first starting, and
Mm-hmm.
just for comparison. But it's a service where you can type in, uh, generate me a paper about communism from the perspective of a capitalist,
Gosh.
and include 3 examples of communism failing or something like that,
Yeah.
and it'll generate you a full paper.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening is the students in school are
Mm-hmm.
using this, and they're not even having to write anything, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I have it pulled up here, and it's just wild. You can type in, like I said, I typed in generate 10 unique questions to ask a graphic design artist who owns their own business.
That's cool.
And so,
See, in that aspect, it's good.
yeah, it's like a Google, but
Mhm.
it tells you stuff.
Specific, super specific.
But then you get into certain things like it's supposed to just be fact based.
Yeah.
But then you get in like kind of the gray area of like what's actually facts, and there's certain, I feel like there's a bias in it. You
Mhm.
ask it like about fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Fossil fuels are terrible. There's
Yeah.
just a lot of weird stuff, but
Mhm.
this is going kind of leading into the AI art conversation,
Right.
which I don't know. Have you seen any?
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
After we talked the
stuff.
other day, I looked it up, and I had heard of it, but I had not seen it. And there was a young lady who did the first ever AI cover for Cosmo magazine, and they had the process. Like they interviewed her, and it showed her going through the process, and it's amazing. But I don't know if it's as easy as they make it out to be. Like the cover looks incredible. Like
Mhm.
it's really well done. But I think you're missing that when it comes to stuff that I do. You're missing, like, she did a female astronaut walking on the moon with swagger. She had all the descriptors like you were talking
Yeah.
about, but it wasn't. I thought for what it was great. But for like a brand or a logo, you still have to be able to move the arm,
Mm.
in a specific direction or turn the fingers, and they'll eventually get there. But
I see what you're saying. Like like for example, in Photoshop, you'll have all these different layers,
mhm,
and for like the AI generated, it just gives you
yeah,
it, but you
yeah,
can't edit anything.
yeah, it gives you the finished product. So she had all these different versions of this female astronaut, and she was walking, and her shape was wrong, and so she got another one, and she had her turn towards the camera, so to speak.
Oh
And
my
it really, I
goodness.
don't know how many she did, but she said it takes about 20 seconds each time.
20
So
seconds.
yeah, but I bet she poured through 1,000 of them. And like I said, it turned out well,
Uh huh.
but I think you're missing that ability to edit it. And
Absolutely.
but I also read that they were calling it out because some of the images, they're a little lacking in detail
Yeah.
and specific components.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it is, it's like when computers first came out, and you had all these hand drawing illustrator people,
Mm-hmm.
and they just they were mad, but now everybody's using computers. So I think it's inevitable, but I think I think it just needs some more time to really develop. I think I saw the Cosmo cover.
Oh, is this what it was?
Yeah,
Oh,
right
there it
there.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it looks great.
But yeah, you wouldn't be able to edit that.
Mm-mm.
I was reading this article before you got here about this whole thing because I have seen AI art generated on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll scroll through and it'll show me stuff, and it's just so crazy because it's like these pictures you never think about it. They just create it in such a. It's like, oh wow, that's like the perfect. Don't want to say perfect, but just there's something weird about it.
Mm-hmm.
And in this article is talking about how they're pulling all of these artist work. Like if you can say I want it in Van Gogh's style or maybe Takashi Murakami style or
Mm-hmm.
something, it gets into a weird space where it's like copyright maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And the article said that maybe a solution to this is that you have to opt in to the AI service, and you might get compensated from that.
I could see
And
that.
yeah, it's a weird space, and
Yeah. Well, it's all new frontier. It's everybody's trying to figure it out.
yeah, this one's called Dolly.
But I do think that Dolly, that's the one the young lady did the
Uh-huh.
Cosmo. Yeah. But I think it's one of those things where instead of doing drugs, you could probably just do this and come up with something pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about a Stephen King novel, but definitely artwork.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I just think it's so new to
mhm.
the mainstream. I think it'll take a while, but the way technology goes, they could get it fine-tuned really fast.
Yeah, it's kind of frightening. I think about it for like my job right now, real estate appraising, and this happened to me in college. I did accounting in college,
Mhm.
and they were like, it was always like in the back of our mind, like we'd have certain teachers poke at the idea, like, "Oh, a robot's gonna be doing this job eventually."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Damn, I need to find some. I
Yeah.
need to become a lawyer or something."
Yeah, something that has to have that personal touch.
Yeah, and then even now for my job now, I'm like, it just comes. There's a point where it's like, if a robot can do the job for free,
Mhm.
what's the point of hiring me?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
a scary thought, but
Right. There's enough people that don't have jobs, and now you're adding robots. And I think it was Chili's that my family went and ate, and they have a robot that brings out your food. Have you seen that?
no.
It's pretty sweet. It looks like, I don't know if you've seen the cleaning robot at Walmart. It's just a big kind of tapered.
Okay.
It's just real rudimentary, but anyway, this robot has a little tray and she brings it out to you. Like, it's not like the Jetsons, like she doesn't go, "Here's your food." Like, she doesn't say that, but she brings it out.
Serves
Yeah.
you.
But it's all just, I'm sure it's all mapped out on a grid, and they just go and say table 7 and they just deliver it to you.
Yeah, we're in a weird frontier right now with all that, like being in warehouses, having like, and then truck drivers. It's crazy stuff. Have you ever driven a Tesla?
No, gotten in one.
So you know how that feels.
Yeah. It's pretty sweet.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
tried.
just am I don't even remember much except just the giant screen. I just can't
Yeah.
get past that. So,
I didn't like that part about it. It was like a huge giant screen.
Yeah.
I was in my friend's one, and he let me drive it, and the screen was like you could play all these games on it, you can watch
Yeah.
TV on it, and
Mhm.
all this stuff. And I was like, okay. And then he let me drive it, and the acceleration, there's like no delay, and I drive a Honda Civic, so like you hit the gas, it's like
Yeah.
a 2
Yeah.
second, then it like shoots you
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
This is like you just go.
Right.
And we did the self-driving mode, and we were driving, and we were entering an intersection, green light.
Hmm.
And so I'm sitting back, hand on the bottom of the wheel, and it jerks left. As we're going through the intersection, it jerks left, and I like grab the wheel real quick.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
But
It's trying to get me.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
There's always a glitch, you know, around the corner. It takes the human element out of it.
Yeah, it's wild stuff, but
Mhm.
I think we'll evolve around it, and
Mhm. Yeah.
we'll be able to push forward. And
Sure. I think it's just new.
yeah, it's so we'll get off that topic.
Yeah, no problem.
I was gonna ask, how do you market your business and attract new clients?
Another good question. Lately, I've been reaching out. For me, in trying to attract new business, I reach out to people, email, phone, word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
Tell people, like I reached out to you and said,
Mhm.
I'm looking for some new business to try to pad my stats, so to speak. But for me, I think I kind of want to, the companies and businesses I want to attract or I want to reach out to, not that I'm against any project, but I would kind of like to say, I like them, I like their pizza, I like their whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a connection there. So I think that's going to enhance the project or the end results. So I would lean towards that, but
Mhm.
I'm not afraid to, go through the Argyle Chamber of Commerce and just run down the list from A to Z and reach
Yeah.
out to people. Because at some point, I just think it's a lot of scatter shooting. Like, it's a little bit of preferred, but a little bit of just throwing it out there and see if it sticks.
That makes sense. What you're saying, you got to be aligned with the values of the brand or the company. And there's a lot of podcasters that do ad reads, and there's certain ones that will like take anything they get. So they'll start reading stuff, and it's like,
oh yeah.
And then they're like saying, "Oh, use my code, like buy this."
Yeah.
And it's like, but then there's guys that like, "Oh, I actually use this, and this is a great product. I really want to tell people about it."
Right. But if it's a gentleman's club, for me, I would say no thanks.
Yeah.
Whether it's read or do the logo, I would just say no, I'm good.
What if they were like, "We'll pay you $1 million"?
Not interested.
I like that. Nice. Stand your guns.
No way. Not gonna do it. I've come too far, especially the last 4 years, man. I'm not messing it up now. I had plenty of time to do that.
Yeah. It's bad karma.
Yeah, very bad.
Interesting. So, what was I gonna ask you?
Who do I like better, your mom or your dad?
That's exactly what I was gonna ask.
I'm not gonna say it. I'll let them think what they want to think, and then just go with that.
I was asking him, or I was telling him that I was gonna like do a podcast with you today, and my dad actually wanted me to ask you a question.
Oh yeah, it's probably something that we're not supposed to talk about. Some sworn oath of sharing. Well, I love your parents. They're great. I've known them since I was 17, so known them a long time. They're awesome. Love them.
I remember
Jim and Shauna. I don't think I've said their names.
Jim and
say
Shauna.
Your parents. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I remember one of my first memories of you. You took me. I think it might have just been me or maybe Ben to. I think it was the Parks Mall. We went to an arcade.
Yeah.
And I think we got like ice cream or something.
Yes.
And I just remember the arcade and.
Well, I remember that. It's funny you should say that because we were driving from the mall to your house, and both you guys got ice cream, like old school
cones.
I guess it was not sugar
cone. Waffle cone?
Maybe. Anyway, y'all both, I think it was almost simultaneously, licked the top, and they both fell into the floor. And I remember grabbing it and just sticking it on the cone and saying, "It's okay. It's the 3-second rule or something." And of course, you guys go, "Okay."
Yeah, we believe anything.
Sure. At that age, I mean, maybe you were 5 and 3 or something like that.
It's crazy. I actually remember that memory. It's one of my memories I can remember. It's so hard to remember stuff from that age, but it's one that sticks through. And
that's cool. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. And you didn't remember the ice cream, so that's good.
No, I didn't.
Maybe I slammed on the brakes. I don't know.
Who knows? My dad wanted me to ask, when you were a trainer at Mississippi State, what traits, either physically or mentally, did the best players on those teams have? Oh, wow. So this is a kind of a hard segue back to that, but he wanted me to ask you that, so I figured what traits, physically or mentally, the best players on the teams have.
That's good. I'm kind of disappointed. I thought he was going to try to get some dirt on me and make me own up.
There's another one I didn't read.
No, just kidding. There you go. We'll save that one for offline. But so traits that the athletes had?
Yeah, things you might have noticed physically or mentally the best players had.
They were just, I mean, guys, baseball, basketball, football, all the athletes, like they were just, we had some pretty good athletes when I was in high school on our teams, but it was just like next level stuff, like muscles on top of muscles.
Yeah.
And I would say that's your dad, but I didn't want to lie on your podcast.
Yeah,
but I mean, he was in shape. I mean, but anyway, yeah, I would just say just the size, especially the football players, height, and they're much bigger now than they were back then. But that was just the big difference from high school to college was just the size and the bulk of it.
That's interesting. I ended up, so I went to high school with Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
And
another huge athlete.
Huge. I played basketball, and he was on the basketball team. He was on the varsity team. I was on the JV team. And sometimes we would practice together.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. This man, so he went to Texas A&M.
Right.
And we would have the Kevin Sumlin, he would come and watch the basketball practices.
Yeah.
He'd just be sitting there in A&M gear and just watching Miles play basketball,
Yeah.
trying to get some insight. But
Yeah.
he was like, what I noticed about him, and he was so humble and really soft spoken and nice.
That's cool.
Even to like me, someone who's like, I mean, he's going places. He doesn't have to do that or anything like that, you know?
Yeah.
So that was a pretty cool moment. And he was a beast in basketball too.
Oh, I'm sure. Did he have a good shot though?
No.
He could obviously box you out, but
he would box you out and then he would catch like alley oops.
Yeah.
There was this one inbound play. We're underneath the opposing team's basket, and the power forward would come. Miles would be under the basket. Power forward would set a screen, and he'd come, then he'd loop back around, and throw the lob. And oh my goodness, he dunked on this dude so hard, and it was just
all force.
Yeah,
all
so I love to throw
force.
out his name every time people ask me.
Yeah, no, that's
about
good.
high school. No,
I love it. Well, he's an awesome pro right now as well. For the Browns still? Or did he move?
He's still for the Browns.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you kind of about my experience. So after college, I went to Belize and I worked for a basketball team, just like an internship. And I was doing, I was managing their social media, their Facebook and Instagram account.
Yeah.
And I was also helping out with basketball. Like I was passing them the ball. Like I learned so much, and these guys are semi-pros. They're not full pros, and they had 2 American players they could sign for contracts. And if you were Belizean, though, you could play. Like if you lived in New York, but you were Belizean, you could come back and play. And
is that like an Olympic team, like their amateur national team?
No, but one of the players, or a couple of those players, were on the team. This is like a kind of like a different league. It was called the NEBL.
Okay.
And there was like probably 9 teams. And I was working for Verdes, which was the champion the year before. So I was there in beginning of 2020 before COVID happened. And I was doing their Instagram and their Facebook and all this. And I'd created this, I'll show you this after, a full Instagram account of all these artwork that I did on Photoshop, and I was just over there working, and I loved it, and it was so peaceful being over there. There's no I didn't have to worry about anything. Like they had a hotel for me to stay at. It was nothing nice, you know, but it was still amazing, and I really fell in love with creating these graphics. And so leading me into the question is, so the general manager, his name is Rory. He reached out to me recently, and they're changing their name, they're changing their brand, and they're going back to the Western Balas. So they're like in Belize, they're west, closer to Guatemala. And he was like, "Can you give me access to the Instagram account? I'm gonna change the name and take over." And so my business mind was thinking, and maybe it was my ego or pride, but I was like, it's kind of like a scrapbook for me. Like it was something that I created, I'm proud of, and put a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, there you go.
And so I gave him a proposition. I was like, okay, well, we can't change the actual handle. Like people look it up, you can't change that. I'll create you a new one, and I'll create you graphics every week or whatever you want. And I'll market it. It will get the same following, and it'll be great. All I ask is that you pay for my Photoshop subscription. It's $25 a month.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, look, it looks like there's already an account popping up. And I go look up the account. And one of the first things I did when I was over there, I created these little their basketball cards for each player.
Yeah.
It had like 2 sides. There's like the stats in the back and the front. And this account doing the same exact thing. And so I type back, I'm like, come on, man, they're doing the same. They're copying the account. I could definitely do better than this.
Yeah.
And long story short, he stopped responding. And I was just like, dang. Because it was just tough, because I was like, I don't want to ask him, like, I don't know. It's difficult, but it goes into the, like, having to ask for, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I just want to share that story.
No, that's good. I think that's cool. I've been to Belize and ridden horses through the jungle, I think.
No
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Like I was on a cruise and it was an excursion. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, very beautiful. But I think if I'm hearing you correctly, it was more about maybe fighting for or asking for intellectual property like compensation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just it's not black and white. It
Yeah.
depends on who you're working with. Some people I've had some people, I've done some branding, logos, graphics, whatever, and they ask for the native files like Photoshop, Illustrator. So they've got somebody else that's going to do it. They just want the files. And I say, sure, it's X amount, depending on who it is. And
Interesting. Okay.
unfortunately, it depends on how much I'm hurt, or
Yeah.
not as much anymore. I would probably just do more of a flat fee. But I feel you. Like you do all that blood, sweat, and tears, and then they just want to take it. And not only they want to take it and not let you have the business, but then they're going to take it to somebody and they're going to do a crappy job with it. So they're going to mess up what you did.
Yeah.
So I totally get it, and I think it's just like anything else, any other relationships. You just have to pick your battles and stand up for yourself, but also understand that they may just ghost you and do the best they can. I mean, they might get somebody to just recreate the art, so
Yeah.
that's always a possibility. But it doesn't hurt to ask.
No, yeah, and I was looking forward to it. I was like, yes, I want to do this again, and
Yeah,
I kind of want to, maybe I could go back over there, and
there you go.
my mind just starts running, and
I don't blame you.
I wanted to ask you, kind of moving away from that topic, but do you have any advice for someone that maybe is creative, loves art, but doesn't know how to monetize it or get started? Maybe find a mentor. Do you have any advice for someone young?
I wish I would have had a mentor when I was younger. So I think that's a great way to go. I mean, I think you just get somebody older that it's always good to meet somebody through a friend. Like if it's a kid your age, meet somebody that your parents know or just feel it out. I mean, I think there are some people out there that are willing to help, at least give you some parameters or give you kind of a foundation to work from.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all. Pricing has always been a hurdle for me because you want the business, but then you don't want to charge so little that you get into it and you're like, oh, I hate this. So,
Yeah.
so you just got to find that sweet spot. And when you're younger, it may depend on whether or not you got food and you've got to pay rent or gas or whatever. So I get it. I've been there. I've done the starving artist thing, but I think a mentor would be a great way to go. And with the internet now, I know this would be kind of on the high end, but there's a graphic artists guild out of New York, and it's a handbook for about $45. You get it, and it just walks you through what the going rate is for
Oh, no way.
everything from branding to collateral to business cards to signage to. It's a good baseline.
Yeah.
But you can kind of understand what people are expecting, what some people are paying, and then you just figure out the numbers on your own based on what you need or what you feel like you deserve in that case.
That's great advice. I'm
Yeah.
sure some people listening will take that advice and run with it.
Yeah.
You said that, so sometimes you'll have a client and then up front you charge them for logo branding package, but then the original files you keep, and then maybe you charge them for a flat fee for that. Is that, so when they first come to you, they're just getting what you create? They're not actually getting the hard file?
Right. The native file.
The native file.
So they can't, whatever font I use, which is usually kind of tweaked, so it's not editable. So it's a piece of art.
Oh, okay.
So
I
they
see.
just get it and then they can use it. Now, if they want the font or want to know the name of it or whatever, then I might get into a negotiation of how much that is. But that's part of the pricing situation is if they say, oh, we want a custom font or we want a font to be able to edit, like to put in when maybe they want to do stuff in house and they want to do banners and advertising and they want that font. Well, that's fine. You just have to work it out with them.
Okay.
But normally on the front end, I don't do that. I just do the graphics and give it to them.
Okay. Interesting. Do you have a favorite project that you worked on?
Yes. The DBU project is my favorite.
Yeah.
For several reasons. One is I love the way it turned out. Two is I love Connor Smith and the athletic department. They were so much fun to work with and meet with, and
that's good.
we would just kind of, I wouldn't say horse around. They were real professional, but they were genuine when they would talk about what they liked and didn't like and what they wanted to look like moving forward. And an interesting story to go along with that is that I did the branding for DBU, and then I met my now wife, Shelly, and so I arranged for DBU through the athletic department, I arranged for them to honor me, air quotes, to honor me at the first TV time out of a basketball game. I take Shelly with me. She comes out there. We take a picture. Everybody claps. And then I have a ring, an engagement ring, and I drop to one knee.
No
and
way.
propose to Shelly. Yeah.
Oh, that's
now,
so
the other
cool.
side of that story is Shelly got her master's degree there in counseling. So there's just all
Dang.
this woven together. So it's just a really special place. I love the way the project turned out. The guys were great. And then you throw in the engagement. And then on top of that, and I haven't told many people this. I mean, Shelly obviously knows, but Connor Smith was the athletic director. And he was talking to me the week before going up to the engagement. And he said, "Are you doing okay? Like, are you ready for this? Like, it's going down. So are you are you
gonna
sure?
be okay
Yeah.
out there?
Are you sure?" And I said, "You know what? I'm 99% sure." And he goes, "How about if I pray for you?" And I was like, "What? I would love that. Go ahead." And so he prayed for me, the engagement, the marriage, just everything. And that was it.
That's awesome.
That's all I needed. It was actually more than 1%. Like, that was just a huge deal. And he didn't have to do it, because a lot of people don't mix spirituality or religion with work. But he felt called to do it, or nudged by the Holy Spirit, and he did it, and it was awesome.
Man, that's amazing to hear.
So I was super confident going in.
Yeah,
so
I bet.
She was not going to say no. Easy for me to say now, right?
Yeah, that's so funny. That would be the worst.
Yeah. But at least I would have gotten recognized, so I would have at least gotten a little swag bag.
Yeah.
in return.
Just walking away.
Yeah, the walk of shame.
Oh, man. That's so cool to hear. So, bringing it back to the darkness again.
Yes.
Do you have a least favorite project you worked on?
Man,
and why?
I think the least favorite projects are the ones where people pull the plug on it. Like, maybe we start it and they just are not feeling it, or something happens and it had great potential. And it may not have been their fault, my fault. It may just have been circumstances.
True.
But I think it's just that what if kind of thing, I would say. I don't think that I've worked with, that I can remember, many people that were jerks. I mean, maybe they were demanding, but I think that's just where boundaries come in. And I've learned to work on that. And that's something I would tell a young person, is just don't let them step on you, because you're young and hungry and all that stuff. Just draw a line in the sand, and there'll always be somebody else if they kick you to the curb.
That's good advice too. Set your boundaries, be confident. And if you weren't doing this, what other art form would you like to do?
That's good. I don't know. I mean,
it's okay.
Graphics, it's just been my jam for so long. I enjoy painting. The thing about painting for me is it's so loose. I would want to make it really tight, like graphics, like just fine tooth comb. But I would love to be able to just get a giant canvas and just let it rip.
Yeah.
And just splatter and do this.
Why not?
Get messy. Yeah, it's not my thing, but I don't know if I would make any money. But I could just give it some weird name and put 6 figures on it and sell it to the Dallas Museum of Art. But I don't know. That's just my jam. I don't know. I think that I would just, I don't know.
Tattoo artist?
Maybe. My illustration skills are not what they used to be, but I could probably do that.
Yeah.
I I don't know. You know what? Since I've been saved, I've had so many instances where we've gone on vacation or I've done other stuff other than graphic design, and I haven't really been chomping at the bit to get back to it. I still love it, but I'm in such a good space of peace and joy that it doesn't define me. So
Mm,
I'm able to just let it go and
yeah,
just roll from there. But my wife paints like on canvas, so I think I
okay,
would enjoy doing that with her.
that's awesome. I see you've got a tattoo there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's when I got after my first marriage, I got divorced, and it's
Wow.
rising from the phoenix. Wait, rising like a phoenix from the ashes.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Did it hurt?
I would say sting,
Yeah.
but it took so long to do it. It was about, it may have been about 7 hours, and I did not get a snack. And they said, they're probably about an hour from getting done. And they said, you don't look good. And so they gave me some Oreos, but I was
Nice.
just depleted. So I was about to pass out.
It's funny you say that because I've got a tattoo and it took like 4 or 5 hours,
Mhm.
and I was just like the same way. I was like, holy God, I didn't expect it to take this
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
So it was on my back, and I'll show you a picture actually here.
Okay.
And they were going through, and then he was like, all right. He was like, are we done? He's like, no, it's just the outline. We got to shade it. I was like, I was like, oh no.
The outline's probably not the easiest, but the quickest, right?
Yeah. And I was like, dang,
Oh,
this is
yeah.
going to be a while.
Yeah. And I've thought about getting inked up again, but I always just default to how expensive it is, and I don't really need it. But I've had some thoughts. You never know.
Kind of see it right there.
Oh, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. So I got that like
So just the outline, and he was still going.
it's right on the spine too. I was
Yeah.
like-
Did that hurt?
I said it kind of stings.
Yeah.
So the first one I got was the outline of Texas, and that one felt like it was like someone was like using a pencil on a sunburn. That's
Mhm.
what I felt. I was like, oh,
That's a good way
wow.
to describe it. Yeah.
And then this one, I was like mentally prepared. I was like, this is something I really want.
Mhm.
And it's actually what I first heard about that symbol. It's the caduceus symbol.
Mhm.
I heard about it in a story from Jordan Peterson. He was talking about Exodus.
Mhm.
He was talking about Moses and talking to God. And I think he was in the desert, and he was like, I need to go back to, I think it was the Egyptians, and tell them about you or something. He's
Mhm.
like, but I'm afraid. And then he's like, show them the stick with the snake wrapped around it. And then
Mhm.
it's like, it'll come to life or something like that.
Yeah. The staff turned into a snake. He threw
Mhm.
it down to show God's power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We're
it's-
actually doing
love that.
men's Bible study. I had it last night.
Really?
We're doing Exodus. We're doing the back half now.
No way.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Might have
Great,
to.
great book of the Bible. Yeah.
I might have to hit you up about that. I'm trying to learn
Yeah.
more and get into that. But
Do it.
I do want to get more tattoos. That's for sure.
Okay.
I love that type of art.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's next, but we'll see. It's
No
got to
need to
mean
get-
something though.
Yeah. I'm with you there.
Yeah, I can't just.
Doesn't need to be Tweety Bird.
Yeah. No.
And if somebody's listening and they have Tweety Bird, I'm not making fun. I'm just saying, Taz, Tweety Bird, those will be some spring break tattoos sometimes.
Oh,
So
Something on your butt or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
People do that.
yeah,
It's been a great conversation.
yeah, I've enjoyed it.
I've enjoyed it too, and I've learned so much about you and got some inspiration too moving
Likewise, yeah.
forward. So, is there anything else you want to say, or we can shout out some of your business?
Yeah, we just redid the website, and so beamteamdesign.com is it. It's just super simple, streamlined, but it gives a great variety and displays pretty much what we can do from A to Z. And there's some. I just like the way it turned out. I think I have a little bit of a perfectionist in me, but I also know that it was important to get it out. So I finally
Mhm.
pulled the plug on it, and there it is.
Looks good. It's very professional.
Thanks.
You can really see all the work you've done too.
Thanks.
It's awesome.
I appreciate it. Man, I'm pumped about it, and I'm just trying to kind of expand things as far as clientele, and got some business cards made. So I'm on a roll.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on a
Yes, keep it moving, and
roll. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great episode. I learned a lot and just want to sign out. This is Jack Robinson. This is JOJ Podcast. Great conversation with Alan about Beam Team Design. Look him up, beamteamdesign.com, for information surrounding logos, branding, anything you need creatively. Hit him up. It'll be great.
I can handle it.
Yep.
Thanks for having me. It
Yeah.
was really a great experience.
Yeah, first
I knew it
podcast.
would be, but it was actually better than I thought. So well done.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And
You're welcome.
next week, we have a basketball player who's played in Armenia. It's coming on, and so we're going to get into all that and
Awesome.
probably share more about my experience in Belize, and it's going to be a great conversation. So y'all tune in, and this episode is sponsored by Robinson Training Company. Hit up Ben Robinson in Nashville if you need a personal trainer. He can do remote, he can do in person, and yeah, I think that's it. So peace out.